You're watching IntoWineTV, and we're at Incanto in San Francisco, tasting wines from the movie Sideways. And today we have the 2006 Andrew Murray M. Stolpman Vineyard Syrah, priced at $34, and this comes from the Santa Ynez Valley of California. This is a 15.5% alcohol, and it was actually criticized in the movie for its high alcohol content.
Well, you know, I figured we were finally going to run into it, and this is, for me anyway, this is the first jammy wine of the day. But for me, really, this wine has a lot of blueberry. I mean, it's almost like a blueberry jam. It's got a little less weight than, I guess, what you'd call a real jammy wine, but for some reason, when on the palate, it seems just jammy. If someone came into the restaurant and said, hey, I'd like something with some jam notes to it, and we get that request every once in a while, this would be a wine I think they would be happy with. That being said, the alcohol doesn't seem too far out of whack. I know it's high in alcohol, but it seems like something is balancing that alcohol out. It might be the acidity, it might be the fruit itself, but it's easier on the palate than I would have expected because it has a very, very inky color to it, and it's actually somewhat enjoyable.
There are times I like Central Coast Syrahs. I'm not sure this is one of them. It's thin. When I reach for a 15.5% Central Coast Syrah, I expect super ripeness, I expect blueberries, and I expect jammy. I expect lots of glycerin, I think mouth coating, thick. But yet, the better ones have a balance where you don't taste the alcohol. I'll agree I don't taste the alcohol on this, but the thinness of this one bothers me. It's nice, I would drink it. It's not a bad wine. I don't taste a lot out of heat. I'm not sure it's something I would reach for. What's the price point on this one?
34.
I think there's better wines out there from the Central Coast that, you know, exhibit their terroir better. I've had other wines from this vineyard that I think exhibit the terroir a little better than this one.
There are people who are going to love this wine, and if you like this style of wine, I agree, it's nice. But the point about alcohol is, if you look at this month's issue of Wine Spectator, I have a letter to the editor saying, why don't they put alcohol levels against the reviews, and they wrote a comment back saying the reason we don't is because alcohol levels can vary. The alcohol levels can only vary 1 to 1.5%, but they also made the comment that alcohol, you know, difference between a 12.5% wine and a 14.5% wine is just 1 ounce of alcohol. Now, 1 ounce of alcohol doesn't sound like a lot, but actually, when you think that vodka is only 40% alcohol, 1 ounce of alcohol, pure alcohol, is the equivalent of having 3 vodka tonics after a bottle of wine. So when you go up to 15.5%, you're now reaching you're into the 5 vodka tonics. And do you want to go out, have a bottle of wine, and then have 5 vodka tonics? Generally, no. But that's what you're effectively doing to your system, and the higher the alcohol in your system, the longer it takes to go away. And so it's really not a very healthy thing to do. But that said, people do drink a lot, but I prefer to get my shots of alcohol after dinner with gin or beer or whatever. But so I prefer a wine 12% alcohol. That's my
Right.
But maybe for somebody who is educated and understands what the implications are of high alcohol content, if they're reaching for a bottle that's 15.5, this is kind of what they're expecting, and yet it's not overly in your face. I liked it.
Do you like this wine?
I do, and because I feel like you're getting what you're going for. It delivers what you would expect out of a Syrah.
Yeah, but you're drinking this on its own, put it with food, and then you're starting to, you know, on its own as a drink in a bar, it's great. I don't object to this, but when you are trying to pair it with foods, just high alcohol and food, it gets more difficult.
So yeah, there's a lot less types of food you can match or pair with a wine like this. I mean, you'd have to eliminate things like anything spicy, probably most any type of fish. The style of wine, you really start to limit what you can eat with it. I mean, there's nothing etched in stone. There's no really hard and fast rules, but at some point, sensibility has to take over, and you're really limited on the food.
We like to drink these wines, and these, I mean, Central Coast Syrahs, high alcohol. At the end of the meal, you know, maybe before dessert with cheese.
Cheese, yeah.
Maybe in a place where port used to be, or but it's got the fruit, it's got the alcohol, it's the better ones have the balance. And you know, I'll tell you, every time I open up these kind of wines for people and when we have dinner parties, they're a hit.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to say. It's a party wine. It's something that you get a bunch of people together and you want people to have a good time and just have fun.
Yeah, but it's interesting that you're talking America here. And at the wine experience a couple of years ago with the grand dinner, they had a bunch of Europeans on a table with a bunch of Americans, and they served two wines. One was a relatively restrained Bordeaux, and one was a high alcohol California wine. And it was really interesting to see that the high alcohol California wine was almost untouched by the Europeans, and yet those glasses were drained by the Americans. So to say there isn't a cultural palate difference is nonsense. Of course there are people in Europe who like high alcohol, yes, I agree with that, and there are people here who like more restrained wines, but culturally speaking, and it's nothing new. In America you drink wine young. In England you'd never dream of drinking a wine as young as this, but that has changed. There have been some people who've been influenced by American wine writers in Europe who are now drinking these styles of wines, but it's relatively small proportion of you can still generalize about cultural differences.
Well, I think the controversy continues with this wine, and love it or hate it, it is what it is. It's the 2006 Andrew Murray M. Stolpman Vineyard Syrah. Maybe have a tasting party, see what you and your friends think. Give it a try, $34, not bad. We hope you enjoy your time with us, and we'll see you next time.